This is the Fire Dog Podcast.
The views and opinions presented on today's episode are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ben Perry here with Matt Wilson. This is episode 17 of the Fire Dog Podcast.
Physical, mental, and spiritual fitness are essential to the well-being of firefighters. We're often thrusted into unpredictable, stressful, and physically demanding circumstances. If we don't prepare for these situations, we put ourselves, our teammates, and our community at risk. Each year, thousands of firefighters are injured, and some die in the line of duty. According to the National Fire Protection Association in 2019, 44% of firefighter fatalities were caused by overexertion, stress, or medical reasons. We owe it to our families, our teams, and our communities to be physically, mentally, and spiritually ready to answer the call.
Our guest today has a wide array of experience as a firefighter and with fitness programming. In 2017 and 2018, he was a member of the relay teams crowned world champions in the Firefighter Combat Challenge. He is also the executive director and founder of the First 20, a nonprofit focused on programming and research around the mental, physical, and spiritual wellness of first responders around the country. Please welcome Mr. Dave Wurtzel.
All right, Dave, great to have you on. Thanks for joining us. Get into our first talking point with you. So tell us who you are. Tell us about your experience as a firefighter. Tell us about your experience as a physical fitness trainer.
My name is David Wurtzel, and I'm the founder and executive director of the First 20. And sticking with that for a second, I founded the First 20 in 2008 to deal with basically the unmet health needs of firefighters, neck up and neck down. What's going on in that area? I had been a firefighter for over 2 decades. I retired in 3 years ago. So I retired a couple of years ago at 50. And during my career as a firefighter, worked, started out in the wildland out west, out on a mountain right outside of Vegas, Mount Charleston. And I think, Matt, we were talking about your father was worked in the Air Force over there at Nellis, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's where I'm from, Vegas.
No, there you go.
Yeah, very familiar with Mount Charleston.
So you guys started a lot of fires for us, but for some of your training exercises, thank you for that, keeping me busy. But over the course of my career, I worked federal, state, structure, wildland, volunteer, and I finished up as a volunteer firefighter right here on the western edge of Philadelphia. I live in the town of 𝗷𝗶𝗰𝗀, Pennsylvania, and it's a borough. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Commonwealth states, it's the smallest form of government. We're like this little self-contained little form of government here. So if you go less than a mile to due west, we border the city of Philadelphia. So we keep busy. But really about 2008, I went online. I was in my early 40s. I was looking for a way to get in shape as a better firefighter. I was looking at ways to get in shape as a firefighter. And it was funny because I could no longer look at a picture of myself when I was, I started my fire career when I was 25 with, NDF, Nevada Division of Forestry, and so I was still that guy. And I went online looking for ways to get in better shape, and it was one of those, I don't know where my head was, but I started uncovering all these problems that firefighters dealt with. I type in firefighter health or firefighter wellness, all these sites started popping up. So I remember the night, it was literally one of those nights where I felt like I had 10,000 windows open on my laptop when I started seeing sites that offered ways for firefighters to get in better shape, which were, if you play badminton, you'll lose this much weight. And I was like, look, man, 2 decades in, I don't know any firefighter that plays badminton as a way to lose weight. And if that's what we're putting out there, there's a problem. So when I joined the fire service in 95, I looked at it like I was this wayward human being, and I kind of found myself in the fire service, and I found a community. And I always wanted to be respectful of that. And, I'm a big believer that, we owe a debt. This is America's not a free ride. Democracy's an audience participation number. So do your best to put a shoulder into it. And I'm always saying, close your laptop, open your door, walk outside, put a shoulder into it. So I was like, all right, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but let me see what I can do to solve this idea of firefighter health. And 2 decades later, or a decade later, multiple clinical trials. We work with, U.S. Forest Service, we work with the Air Force, we work with City of Baltimore, City of Philadelphia, Detroit. It gives me a really good idea of like what's going on. And we've been able to really move the needle on firefighter health and getting some folks healthy. So maybe that's the long form answer.
Dave, I'm wondering what was the basis of it when you started out? I know you said you were trying to research and you wanted to be healthy and you wanted to be a healthier firefighter, and so you looked on the internet, you couldn't find much. Did you base launching this organization off of what you saw, or maybe some studies you read?
That's a great question. So I think for me, everything we do, the original push was, again, fire service gave me everything. I don't want to give anecdotal answers, and I found there's a lot of anecdotal. Well, I think that's right, and I think that's what's going on. But so everything we did had to be based in solid science. I didn't know, so I surrounded myself with folks who did know and folks who had experience in the tactical arena. We had a board that made up of career firefighters, federal firefighters, volunteer firefighters. It couldn't just work for one population; it had to work for everybody. So it was the lowest common denominator approach. And originally, we were coming at it from a workout. Well, hey, just give folks a workout. This seems to be the problem. If the biggest killer of firefighters is heart attacks, let's hop in that door. And I think as we progress through the years, it was a journey on like what really influences our health and what's the driver of it. So the program incorporated more nutrition ideas, and then we kind of arced into more of a neck up program, like the software influences the hardware. And as you got into the solid science, it really was looking at it from a perspective of maybe half of all line of duty deaths was heart attack. And again, not stepping over, that's a big number. So we needed to solve that. But a fire department's 3 times more likely to see a suicide than they are a line of duty death. That's troubling. So when you start to like kind of peel back the layers and see that neck up issues are probably way bigger than neck down issues, I think that's and it's a bigger influencer. Like, PTSD rates 4 or 5 times national average. And when you start digging into the suicides, you're like, well, this is troubling. So there's more neck up issues. So it was a progression, Matt, from fitness, nutrition, neck up, and then we're like, hey, this has got to kind of serve all those.
And that ties in with your name too, right? As well, the first 20 has a pretty specific meaning that actually ties into the background of the organization, right?
Yeah, that's it. So the name of the first 20 comes from where we're at on dispatch. We get the 20-minute mark. So a long time ago, I remember my chief saying, how you handle the first hour of a job will let you know if you're going to be there for 2 hours or 10 hours. So it's this hyper dynamic window. Can't see intense mental load, intense physical load, intense heat load. And originally the idea was, how do we help create a program that serves for that first 20 minutes of a fire? So hence the name of the first 20.
Dave, I want to go back a little bit to suicide. So more people in the fire service die as a result of suicide versus any other reason. Do you think that is a job-related thing, or is it cultural? Because hasn't there been an uptick of suicides just in the world or in the United States specifically over the past decade or so?
I think it's a great question. Because most people look at it one way or another, and I'm like, it's D, all the above. I mean, the wellspring we pull firefighters from, it's the general population. So you got to kind of take a bigger view. You got to kind of look up from a mile high, like what's going on with the general population. And in the last 4 years, for example, it was depression rates or mental health rates clicked up, like it was negligible. But when you extrapolate that over the population, it was a point like 0.3 or whatever it was, or 0.3. That equals like 4 million people. So that's the city of Los Angeles. Like basically, we added the city of Los Angeles onto mental health issues. So now you look at the job, and it's just a grand exacerbator. And I would say maybe even a third layer in is when you say cultural. When you look at I would say the demographic for the fire service, it's more of from a socioeconomic perspective, with like a middle class, maybe middle lower class vocation. And when you look at that demographic of the population, I mean, there's mental health issues are run rampant. And so there's a lot of other reasons, there's a lot of underlying factors, I think, for that. But, we can go down that rabbit hole if you want a little later on.
Yeah. Yeah. We could almost have an entire episode talking about mental health. And it could be that maybe there's an uptick because we know about it more than we used to know about it. And it's being
Right.
diagnosed on a more frequent basis. I
Right.
mean, back in World War I, they called it battle fatigue, and same with World War II. It was just a consequence of going to battle. And I'm talking specifically with battle and war, obviously. But it was like normal, and hey, get over it, be tough and tough through it. When now people are, the culture is in a place where, it's okay to raise your hand and say, I have a problem. And so could be an uptick because people are more comfortable raising their hand, and doctors are more comfortable saying, hey, this person does have a problem. But again, we could talk about this in length probably. If we could, we get into some of your programs, unless you got a point.
Sure.
There.
No, I think it is. The only thing the point I do want to make on that is, especially when you look in the military, the makeup's a younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was 25 years old, I had no idea what was going on. And, I had a great mechanism for shutting out areas and focusing, in the sense of, I would say more of like ignoring. So I think by the time that catches up to you, it has a whipsaw effect as you get older, and there's things you saw, and as you get older, like, well, wait a minute, what just happened there? So I will pass on, but I think age definitely plays a role in that factor, especially from a military setting.
Yeah, most certainly. So yeah, some of your programs that the First 20 offers, are they physical fitness focused, or is it more to them? I know we just talked pretty extensively on mental health. Is that included? You were talking about Neck Up. How is that incorporated into the programs along with physical fitness?
Well, we have like generational programming in the sense that we're probably on version 6.0 of the program. So we lay a lot of the legacy content in there because it's really solid. And as I was saying, it went through 2 clinical trials. So the one program specifically, our tactical high performance program, we created a series of workouts that specifically, there's a periodization in it. So there's a start here, go for 6 months. And again, a 6-month workout. Like you can really hop in anywhere you want, but it's definitely, we give you the workouts to do. So we look at the tagline for the First 20 is where it begins. And I would say we want to give people a really fundamental approach. Don't give you 20 things to do. Give me like 3. I think 3 feels balanced. 1 is better, 3, but in the fitness thing, we looked at like 5 core movements: push, pull, hinge, squat, step, rotate, lunge. Maybe there's more. I think there's 8 core movements actually, but let's train to those core movements. Your body doesn't know muscle, your body knows movements. I still come from that old paradigm, like today's a chest day or leg day, So just busting that, your body, just keep it moving. And I think all the science trends that way. So we have workouts that just really look at the core movement structures. And then we also want to look at where do you sit on your ability to kind of, I love the idea of beginning, intermediate, advanced. It's kind of, horse crap. I might be advanced upper body, but beginner lower body, or vice versa. So we created some metrics along the way to kind of figure out where you're at. Do I want to ramp this up or move this back? So we have a series of workouts that we created, again, under the tactical high performance program. The workouts themselves, we call them Crash Fire Fitness. We love a cool name. And then we had some workouts in there. One was called Smoke Eater. The other was called Forcible Entry. The others we have, I even forget, like Overhaul.
Yeah, that's good marketing.
Yeah.
So like the Smoke Eater, is it focused on wildland firefighters? Forcible Entry, is it focused on that particular task or movement, or is it focused on the structural firefighter?
No, that was more aimed for the structural firefighter. We delved into the wildland, and it's a different job demands. There's different structure is more lactic. If you look at an energy system, like you have 3 different kind of modes in your body, and lactic, alactic, oxidative. So what am I going to do for a 3-second burst, 10-second burst? I'm smashing a door, I'm popping a hood. Then what's a little longer? Maybe I'm advancing a hose line. There's a different need. So on the wildland side, when I was working on the wildland side, I was going on a 21-day roll. Yeah. So I'm cutting fire line for 3 weeks. That's a different beast versus I'm in a 20-minute window of high energy, high ops tempo. And so we're going to train differently. The physical demands are different. Now I need my oxidative and my cardiovascular systems to be developed, because that actually improves the performance of the lactic and alactic systems. And I think that's one of the things that's stepped over in structure. Oh, I'm not running 10 miles. Why would I want to do that? I don't do that at a job. Why would I do that? Why would I train that way? I'm like, well, it all works together. So the short form answer is those workouts specifically were designed more from a structural perspective. But again, we're training movement patterns. We're going to try and increase cardiovascular health. So it does work across all domains.
In regards to the difficulty, you talked about you didn't like the idea of, easy, moderate, difficult. Are there varying levels of difficulty with each one of these programs? Say if I'm starting out, let me go toward this program because it's a little easier. If I'm good with physical fitness, I want a little bit more of a challenge. Are there varying levels of difficulty with each one of these?
There are, but it's not that I don't like the level of difficulty. What I didn't like was beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I always think those names are just loaded.
Gotcha.
So, for example, we got rid of the word wellness and everything became high performance. It's a performance program, not a wellness program.
That's great, because I said wellness probably, I don't know, 3 times in your intro, I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
That's okay. I mean,
in our promo video, I said wellness a bunch. That's all right.
No, but what happens is, like, anybody says wellness, it's that everybody's arms get crossed in the room, everybody leans really far back in the chair. Nobody cares about wellness. But if I say, hey, buddy, or hey, sis, I'm going to make you into a high performing athlete. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, I want to be a tactical high performer. What's that about? It's wellness. So cycling back, instead of naming beginner, intermediate, and advanced, let's just give them names that are cooler, that are more that work within the culture of the fire service, and we let them know, like, this one's more difficult, this one tends to be a little easier, but no beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Let's get rid of those naming structures right away.
You mentioned, we've talked that there's the physical, mental, and nutrition all kind of wrapped in together. Are they kind of legitimately intertwined, or like Monday you're doing physical, Tuesday you're doing mental? Kind of more separate but together, versus do 3 squats and reflect on today's stressors.
Right.
I mean, kind of, would you break out exactly how you are attacking it in a multidisciplinary way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'll kind of give you the evolution of it really, really briefly, but it's really, when I listen to music, here's the best analogy I can give you. When I listen to music, there's the percussion session. Could be the background singers. Somebody's on lead guitar, somebody's on acoustic, the lead vocalist, but the song happens at the same time. So you're going to eat. I guarantee whatever's going to happen in your day, you're going to shove something in your pie hole at least 3 times a day. Right? Lower hanging fruit, get in where you fit in. So you're going to eat. I don't know if you're going to move. You're definitely going to eat. You might sit at your desk now, for like, how did I sit here at my desk for 10 hours? How did that happen? Well, it's easily, especially if you're not busy, or I looked at the trucks, check, packs are in the right place, check. And if there's not a lot of calls, I'm sitting at my desk. So anyway, what I'm saying is, we're going to get, everything's going to happen all the time. So I need to check in where I'm at, what I'm putting in my pie hole. I need to make movement a habit. I need to check into what's going on between my ears and where I'm putting my attention. So a lot of how we break out the programs, especially earlier on, was more of a focus on you don't even have to think about anything. We'll give it to you. So here's what you want to think about this week from a nutrition perspective. We break it down. Keep it simple, where it begins. What are the 3 things I need to think about from a nutrition perspective? So we approach nutrition from hydration, eating more fruits and vegetables, eating less processed foods. Simple. I don't care if you're ketogenic, paleo, primal, Mediterranean, like, man, there's so many directions now for nutrition and so many people telling you where to go. That's kind of problematic. And again, we want to keep you moving, make movement a habit. So, hey, if I get up every half hour, I just do a couple stretches, keep it flowing, I'm good. And then we got to think about exercise in different, some folks can work out on the job. Some folks can't. Some folks are departments that are ripping and running, and we got to be cognizant of call volumes. Again, we have to make a program that works for everybody. And somebody can kind of, okay, I got this. Now let me move up. Okay, I got this. I'll move up. So we always think of like good, better, best. Hey, it's best if you think about all these things and do these things, but that's never going to happen. So we're going to allow you to dial it down. So if I can only do one nutrition thing, here's your one nutrition thing. If I can only work out 3 times a week, yeah, here's that. And if I could, so again, if I can't really get into too much mental health stuff, hey, just breathe. We're going to teach you some breathing habits that'll help you.
That's a great segue into the next talking point, but I did want to hit something. It sounds to me like these go beyond being just programs. You're trying to create habits. I've been told before, diets don't work. It's the habit of eating right over a period of time. And the same thing sounds like it applies like, hey, make a step toward the right direction physically, mentally, and nutritionally. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's it. Getting where you fit in. It's a big, that's my number one thing is I have a guy on our board. The joke is he's lost over 1,000 pounds since I've known him because he'll always go on a diet. And this guy he was an offensive lineman. So he's a big dude. He'll go, yeah, I'm on a fruit diet. And he loses 100 pounds and gains back 120. He's on, name the diet. He'll always go and hey, I just want to kickstart it, but nothing sustainable. Nothing sustainable.
Yeah, it lasts 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe, and he's back to square one, and you're starting to program over a month later.
Right, and everybody in my own fire station, we all got Fitbits, and they all became just bracelets. It just became someone's watch. Eventually, they're not sticking with it. So So again, what can we make habitual? And the idea is, I was watching this really cool. Somebody hit me to some site. You can watch some satellites launch into space, and where I sit in Philadelphia, if I walk outside at a certain time of the night, I can see them launch out of Virginia. And I was watching something and it left the atmosphere and they course corrected. And the guy, there's some writing and said they were like 0.0001% off course. But if you extrapolate that out to like Mars, they missed Mars. So I was like, wait a minute. How about we put you 0.0001% on course with the smallest changes that if you can make habits, they'll have profound changes. Example, I've read multiple studies that have somebody got rid of 2 slices of bread. Everything else in their life was the same. At the end of the year, they lost 20 pounds. So that's big. The problem is we don't believe that that's true. Oh yeah, if I just lose 2 slices of bread, I'm like, that's
well, it's hard to see the results, right? Like we're motivated by kind of instantaneous gratification. Like if I don't see results in a week, man, why am I doing this?
Right.
Why am I going to wait a year to see results when I could stop eating for a week and then see a bunch of results, but then you're back to square one a month later?
Well, I think that comes back to, that's a great, as Americans, I think we're just awful at like, if it's not going to benefit me in the next 15 minutes, I'm off that train. And that's really problematic. So we kind of shift our thinking. So a big thing we get to is what's your why? And that's part of the neck up program. What's your fundamental set point? Why are you doing any of this? So in the fire service, if you're a decent firefighter, I don't know these folks who are in it, men or women, are in it for themselves. And if you're in it to make money, hey, I think you're in the wrong vocation. I hate to tell you, but not that you can't make a good living, but we're in it for each other. And all these great teams you're on. So when we start working in there, we say, hey, if you can work out for the next firefighter down, I'm going to get in better shape for him or her. There's your motivation. Let's think about that before we do anything. So now maybe I can make the goals a little longer term, less carrot stick. Oh, if I lose 15 pounds, I get a couple bucks. All right, that kind of works and it kind of doesn't. Again, we want to make a habit. Maybe the habit is my significant others, the people I run with. We start expanding those communities, looking at that.
Question I had earlier for you in regards to the fitness training. Go back a little bit. You talked about how that the program. Sometimes you're at a fire station, sometimes you're at home. Sometimes equipment requirements are different. So are the programs designed in a way that require certain types of equipment, or could I go into my living room and do one of the program? I mean, what kind of equipment requirements?
Well, that's the thing. So we want to make sure that was one of the biggest things in the clinical trial was access to, when we looked at different studies, too, was access to equipment. And where is that access? When is that access? I get off a shift, man. I don't feel like dragging my butt to a gym. I'm like, that's not going to happen. So we got to look at something that can happen on shift, at the station, around the station, in the house with somebody who's no equipment. So in our Crash Fire Fitness series, especially, we made it so if you don't have access to anything, but maybe at the station, you can grab some equipment. Like we could work out there. One of the pieces of equipment that I'm highly enamored with is a TRX. And anybody don't know, that's suspension training. So all the handles on your truck are rated to like 480 pounds for the larger, more full-figured firefighters. I don't know how they rated them so high, but so trust me, you can wrap around those handles. And when we originally had it in the one clinical trial, where everybody works out around the station, or excuse me, on a truck. So I know each truck's going to have 4 handles. NFPA says that's got to happen. They're all rated a certain way. So we basically made like 4 to 6 stations, and then we could just kind of rotate around, and we made them quick. So if you only had 20 minutes to work out, here's one you get ripping. If you work out for 40 minutes, here's a more expansive one. But it's all no equipment. But I'm not a proponent at the same time of like lifting a generator over your head. I'm watching some folks like, hey, let's be smart. Now, I know that's really, everyone's like, yeah, you're talking to the firefighters now. I know, I'm like, I know, but let's be smart about like what we want to do and what kind of instruments we want to lift over our heads. But hey, I'm going to step up and back up on the bumper or steps, or I'll do push-ups here. I mean, there's so many things you could do with no equipment or no TRX. Like maybe I just wear an air pack. So now I just loaded a movement with an extra 20 pounds. There you go.
Sounds like it's pretty easy to do some of these programs, these workouts with minimal equipment.
You want to take out the excuse factor out of it. I want to give it like, I can't. You can make it easier, not easy. It's right. Like Albert Einstein used to say. So you can work it anywhere. You could do this at home. You could do this. Like my family is amazed. I do bear crawls around the house, or I have a jump rope. You could get outside.
You could do burpees and have a complete workout.
We hate the B word at the house.
Love them. If we could, I'd like to scratch the surface of the science that you keep mentioning. I understand that the first 20 has been part of clinical trials with FEMA and the National Institutes of Health, or NIH. Can you tell us what those studies were about and what the results were?
Sure. So the results were, so we wanted to take fire departments coast to coast, and what we looked at was end up going to volunteer fire departments. Because the mandate, again, is it has to work for everybody. Like I don't care if you're a volunteer firefighter, the job is still the same. I think in the 70s, the idea was like, well, volunteer firefighters is quality versus quantity, or quantity versus quality. We'll just throw enough firefighters at it. We'll put it out and we'll be okay. But where I live in Philadelphia, outside Philly, the volunteer fire departments go through extensive training. So, but you get into different parts of the country and there's different parameters around that. But my point is, I know if something could work for that cohort, then it would definitely work within the career fire side as well. And we want to get a good spread of firefighters. So again, we're talking about firefighters across the country. What works in Philadelphia? Fitness equipment. What's my access to nutrition? some people, when you access, well, you go into certain parts of Baltimore, they don't have access to proper food. There's no Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or, oh, I can just go get all the healthy food. And from a pricing perspective, a salad was costing like $6 or $8, but the chicken nuggets were costing $3. Like, what would you do? So, you have to be cognizant of all these ideas. So anyway, spinning it back, we had a cohort. It was over 1,000 firefighters. I think it was like 1,200. And the bigger part for me, and I think was the transformative part, was, so remember that they approached the chief to select into the department, but the firefighters were just given the program. And it was a self-directed programming, meaning that it was mostly mobile. We had a mobile intervention. So it was meant to get less direction, no face-to-face. But if I just open up an app that worked on my laptop and on a phone, on my mobile device, and we unpack that information, are we going to be able to make a change in their BMI, like height, their weight, their heart rate, their blood pressure? How are we going to do? So we had scientists come in and measure those folks, and came in intro, outro, and we did. So the results, I think, are just getting published now. I don't know what's going on, but we have the results. So that was the FEMA one. That was coast to coast. The NIH one was a cohort of firefighters out in Long Island, and we were working with through an occupational health doctor. So basically, they saw that doctor. He then gave them our program, and he circled some of the initiatives. Well, you should do more of nutrition, or you should do more of the fitness stuff. So it was more of what would happen if it came from that side in, because ultimately, I think you need to get a health screen. You should be seeing a doctor in one way, shape, or form. So that was we don't have the results back from that. It takes a while, I guess, to get the results in. But so that's where we took those two programs. I think the most transformative spot for me was I went to health coach. So
it sounds
even
like
though
the results were positive with those.
Yeah, absolutely. We did a great job.
Yeah. Without actually looking at the definitive results, you said there was a drop in BMI. What about, were there interviews or interviews with the firefighters after? Like, yeah, I like this, I'm going to continue with it, or is there any indication now that they're still doing it and that there's still progress?
Well, that's great. So the answer is going outward. They all said, yeah, hey, yeah, this is great. We're going to stick with it. Now, it would be great to have done a follow-up study to see where these folks are going to be at, but it's a funding thing. I'm not part of that. When you do a clinical trial, everybody has self-reported data. What we wanted was data from scientists who came in and studied this and said, yep, their approach works. And we got that. Unfortunately, we weren't studying any of these firefighters going forward, so I don't have longitudinal data. But the one thing that turned it for me and leading to the next program was the health coaching I did. So I got training, and I got really some formalized training, what's called motivational interviewing. And it's a health coaching technique that somebody already knows the how, what, when, or why. Your job is just to help them and be reflective, to unpack that, help them unpack that. But it wasn't part of the study. So the data from that isn't included in our results. The only mandate was I had to give the same measurable dose to every firefighter. And this is where it totally flipped the script for me. So the idea was, hey, Ben, or hey, Matt, what changes do you want to make in your nutrition, your fitness, or your stress reduction in the next 2 weeks? And I was setting a goal, and then I would come back. So I was going to do 2 health coaching sessions with each firefighter. Okay. It turned into multiple, because I couldn't give this. I had whatever I gave to one, I had to offer to all. And what ended up happening was it led me down a path, because I wanted to see what was going on in the trenches. And what I saw was wherever we started, it ultimately led with, I'm stressed out of my tree. I had problems with my significant other, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my mom, my sister. I suck. People are experiencing crazy amounts of stress, 1. And 2, there was a resilience problem. Yeah, I was dieting or I was working out for a week or 2 weeks, and then I missed a day. That turned into 3 days, and that's it. I'm done. Or I was doing great, and then on a Friday, I housed a gallon of ice cream, and they cavitated. Or I was working on my anger issue, and I lost my temper. I suck. They couldn't get past failure. So that was really telling to me, and really what led to the next program was, first of all, folks are suffering, man. And when you start peeling back the layers of what's going on, like it makes me sad, because you meet so many firefighters on Facebook, and everybody's like, "Hey, I'm great. I'm super tough." But once they see that you understand them, it's kind of like they look both ways.
So if you could boil down all of your experience, practice as a firefighter, your experience running the first 20, and all of the studies, research, and training that you've been through in order to put yourself down this road, if you could boil that down into kind of 3 bullet point statements for our listeners, advice you could give them towards being a healthier firefighter today, what would those be?
Wow, 3. Well, one is you can't escape bad leadership. We live in a top-down area, so for all your leaders out there, make sure you double down on that. But from an individual perspective, I guess I would say, what's your why? If you could start with number one, tapping in to your purpose, I think that's always a great place to start. Like, why do you want to do any of this? It's like you got to have a purchase point. If we're doing any vehicle rescue, so you got to have a purchase point. Without a purchase point, there's nothing to grab onto. So start with your why. The second thing is make movement a habit. Any movement works. The third thing is, really where I'm at is you're 97% water. So keep drinking. Drink some more. Hydrate, especially on the structure side. Prehydration's everything. There's fluid in our bodies. We're electrical synapses. Like, water flows better when there's better electricity flows better when there's better more liquid, I guess you could say. So eat, move, and maybe if I go for the neck up stuff, the fourth thing, and there's breathe. What do you mean? Well, there's multiple breathing patterns I've seen out there, deep breathing, that lead to that help significantly for you to reduce your stress. So those would be it. I mean, it's pretty basic. So if you could do maybe those couple things, I think you're good to go.
So Dave, if a Air Force firefighter wants to find your fitness programs or your programs, how could they do that?
They can go right online. Do I even say www anymore? Does anybody even say that? That's the thing. I'm old. Sorry, guys, I'm old. It's just the first 20, all 3 words, thefirst20.org. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening up we're going to call it the First 20 Academy. And we're going to include all of our legacy content in there, and our newer program, which is the Road to Resilience, which is more neck up driven, which is really like getting behind some of those things I was talking about, getting behind your resilience and your purpose, and using that to like kind of, how do I use these core drivers of my resilience in different domains? Most people don't eat because they're hungry; they eat because they're stressed. So maybe make some awareness, but so we're going to have all the programs lined in there, and then we're going to be loading in some more as we go down, and kind of really use this as a what's the word I'm looking for, as a focal point and a hub for all kinds of programming, neck up and neck down.
Cool. When is that going to launch?
What time is it?
It is.
So we hopefully it's we're pretty close. We're pretty close, and then the idea is just hop in and out wherever you want. Here's all the programming, and it's designed for a department to give it to without any interface with somebody else. Here's what you need to access to get you healthy, and then you can kind of like, if you want to bring somebody out, we could do that. But it's just really all the programming will be in like one spot for and make it really inexpensive for a department to kind of get in, because we're, as a nonprofit, we care more about you than the health department. We're not in it to make money, just to make sure you guys got the valuable programming out there to get you healthy.
And so you're registered as a nonprofit 501c3, like.
Correct. Yeah. 501c3, and you can look us up. I mean, we have glass pockets.
Yeah.
So, trust me, I can tell you, yeah, I'm really good at running a nonprofit. That's my thing. I'm great at making no money. But no, but it really is just about, we got into this for all the right reasons, and giving folks, the men and women in the fire service deserve the best. Why not give them the best? And here it is. And then now it's up to you to do it. There's some responsibility. Well, we going back to what we started the conversation with way back when was, we want to remove the excuses. Now it's up to you. Now, look, we did our job. We know we gave you validated workouts, nutrition strategies and tactics, proper neck up programming to move the needle. The science tells us this works. Now, it's your job as a firefighter to own that responsibility you have for the fellow firefighters you're with, to your service to your municipalities and to your communities, to step up and kind of take this and kind of get it done.
Dave, that's a great place to end it off. I appreciate you coming on. Are there any final thoughts before we wrap up? No, just the neck up stuff. We'll come in another time. I think that's all the basics. But maybe another time we'll talk about the idea of spirituality and spiritual resilience, because I think that's really the magic mojo, if you will. So imagine your health as imagine our program is a stool. You have the fitness side, you have the nutrition side, you have the stress reduction side, and the firefighter sits on top of that. What's that stool sit on? Well, it sits on your spiritual health. And where we've kind of gotten to is this idea of the spirit. Like, what is that? And that's really where the magic happens. That's the pilot light, if you will, that keeps the whole thing burning. And I believe after digging in there pretty substantially, that's where, if you can turn that pilot light on, that's going to create all the difference in your life, and make sure it doesn't get blown out when things get tough. Awesome. It sounds like we could have you again on another episode. Really proud.
It's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. And it sounds like a great one to have, but I really appreciate your time, Dave.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, guys. Best of luck. Thanks again. Fire Dogs, you guys got it going on. Thank you.
That's going to do it for us on this episode of the Fire Dog Podcast. You can find more content just like this regularly posted on our Facebook at facebook.com/the Fire Dog Podcast. That is facebook.com/the Fire DAWG Podcast. This has been Perry and Matt Wilson with our guest Dave Wurtzel. Until next time, stay safe.